We've been covering the big farming protest, which is going to happen in Westminster today. This campaign against inheritance tax continues.
Yes, the changes, which are due to come into effect in April next year, means that farms worth more than £1 million will be hit with a 20% inheritance tax. OK, well, joining us here in the studio, we have Gareth Wyn Jones and former Minister of State for Europe, Denis MacShane. Gentlemen, good morning. Good to see both of you. Now, Gareth, you're going to be speaking today at the rally.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've had a farm in the family for how many years?
375 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So
this is life. This is just life. This is it. And inheritance is everything because you got to pass stuff down, haven't you?
So my son's 26. You know, my father's 88. He hasn't passed on the farm because we thought that the generational thing was just going to be passed on like it's always been. But Keir Starmer went to the NFU and promised how he was going to protect family farms before the election. And then he comes out with the first budget with an absolute bombshell for the farming communities. Mm. And if people think that these farmers want to be in London today, think again.
Mm. You've things to do.
We want to be home, tending to our animals.
Yeah.
And making sure that we can feed you people in these big cities with affordable, healthy, nutritious food.
Denis, the thing is, and we can debate this all we like, but the truth is, you, me, lots of us have forgotten the connection between food and farm and why farmers are there. We see food coming from packets, not from animals.
Absolutely. I spent a fair bit of time and worked in France. And there, farmers are part of the community. They're respected by supermarkets. They work with politicians. I was having a talk with Gareth. He's got a Labour MP. This is one of the interesting parts of all of this, that the National Farmers Union, to a large extent, was seen as a part of the Tory party. Perhaps it's just natural. And now we've got, lots and lots of MPs. I was talking to one yesterday who's got an MP up in the Lake District. He's got 169 farms in his constituency, the biggest number of farms of any constituency. So Labour on a learning curve. What I would say is that as somebody who served on the Finance Committee of the House of Commons, which is what actually draws up the budget in detail, stop shouting about this. Distance yourself from the right. Don't let this become a Tory thing. Start talking to MPs. Now, a lot of things in this. I mean, if a couple can pass on 3 million, no death duties for 10 years. You just said your father, at a decent age, God bless him, hasn't passed it on. Well, I don't know who would advise, with all respect. I mean, I've got much more modest, my little savings. I'm thinking now, how do I make sure that my children get that in a sensible way? And so I would simply urge, I've got no easy answer. I mean, the rest of the country, frankly, says, why do I have to pay death duties? Why, if I bought a little home cottage and I sell it, I have to pay capital gains tax? And farmers, some of whom are pretty well off. More importantly, the NFU have allowed the city to come in and control too much of farming, not where Gareth works up in the north of Wales, and turn it into tax avoidance schemes. And the NFU should have put their foot down and said, we're not going to allow this to happen. But unfortunately, that is part of the difficulty.
Gareth, Denis makes it sound very simple. It's in your hands. You could sort this yourself.
I wish we could. We just want a conversation with government, with the Treasury. Why aren't they having that conversation? We haven't heard anything. They've just locked that door in number 11. It's nobody wants to listen to what we're trying to tell them. Our job, honestly, it's on its knees, OK? We're out 7 days a week making sure we can produce food. The profits in our industry is awful. Suicide rate, mental health. And, he tells me, why did my father? That is something that's been generational, You leave that as you leave the earth, and it was left then for the next generation.
But Gareth, why can't my grandchildren inherit my wealth? Why would they need to
sell it off? Why don't they just leave it? It's in no one's interest to sell it off. Just keep it in the family.
It's our working capital. It's different for you. Yes, you can pass on your inheritance.
I can't. I have to pay my tax because we all pay tax.
We have to pay our tax as well.
We all pay as I think Benjamin Franklin said, two things you can't avoid in life are death and income tax. We have to pay our mite of inheritance tax to provide for the army, the police, the roads.
How much of the country, what percentage of the country pay inheritance tax, do you know?
What percentage?
Yeah.
As small as possible.
4%.
Yeah, and I'm sure
But
if
this
you
is gonna
arrange...
hit every single farmer that's got a farm over £1 million. £1 million is nothing today. It's nothing.
Oh, I see, gosh.
No, it isn't,
all right,
because it's working capital.
All right.
It's working capital. It's our land that we need to produce affordable food.
A couple
for you.
can pass...
Doesn't matter if you're on the left, on the right,
Gareth,
or
I'm not representing the Labour government, but let's just be accurate. A couple can have $3 million free of tax and 10 years to pay any tax. Small farms on the whole. Now, you've got a very big farm, and you even own a mountain. I don't think you have to pay.
I don't own the mountain.
No, your National Trust does. All right, it's on your land. The National Trust.
We have mountain rights, and this is where people look at farmers and they look at us as asset rich. But we're not profitable.
But the point is, the single biggest farm put together now in the middle of England, it's equivalent to 56 square miles. That's bigger than all but the biggest 4 or 5 cities in Britain. It's been put together to dodge taxes by foreigners. Now, you've got to tackle that. The NFU didn't. I'm sure, I completely agree with your passion.
The Labour government has brought this on. Don't blame the NFU. Don't blame anybody. Keir Starmer promised he was going to protect family farms, and he's come in with a bombshell.
All right.
That's going to kill them.
All right, Gareth. I heard that about fox hunting, that fox hunting would kill the countryside. And I remember the 400,000 people marching in Hyde Park 20-odd years ago. It didn't. Now, what we're doing, my thing, I'm very surprised nobody mentions this, in 2018, British farms received £4.7 million of taxpayers' money from Danes, Germans, French, Dutch, the rich Europeans, through the Common Agricultural Policy. The Tory government has slashed that to £3.7 million. You've had £1 million knocked off because the Tories imposed Brexit on us. Now, if you had a European approach, that would be cooperative. You'd get supermarkets to take more of your food. We might have more locally produced food, not all this industrially produced, highly processed salt and sugar food that leaves our poor people ill.
This government now is giving away $560 million to countries abroad to produce sustainable food. Money that's going from taxpayers in this country to different countries so they can produce affordable food so we can ship it back into this country so we can go against the people that they should be backing.
Gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there, but Denis, I sit and listen to this argument and I still say at the end of the day, would you do his job? Would I do his job? Would Ellie do his job? Answer, no. We need people like him to do their job. Why are we making it more...
And I think Gareth will still be there. He's such a great guy. We've had a good conversation before this show. Many farmers are like that. But get the money boys, the foreigners, the people who live abroad in Barbados, get them out of ripping off Britain by treating farmland as
guys, we've got to leave it there.
Thanks, gentlemen.
We'll be seeing you later on today, Gareth, I'm sure, at your rally. I know you're busy, man. Things to do.
Yeah,
OK,
thank you.
Thank you both very much indeed.